Hey everyone, I'm Brad Nelson. Join me for my flashback on StarCityGames.com where I go over my memory lane and look at some random pictures. I'm pretty excited. How about you? Oh man. Well, that confusing look that you see right there is because I was getting interviewed by Brian David Marshall at my very first pro tour with no pro points to my name on a quick questions from the pros. And as you can see, I'm like, I'm not a pro, dude. And he's like, well, just answer these questions. At Pro Tour Honolulu, there was so much talk about me at the event, in the coverage. At the end of the first day, I go back to the hotel room and somebody that didn't do as well as I did was just looking through all of the coverage. And he was like, why are you on all of this? Why do you have feature matches and deck techs and interviews? Your name is in the day one recap and even in the day one preview. And we were just blown away. For some reason, they wanted me to be a success story, and I guess they were right. All right, my shirt does not say Brad, even though you'd think it does. It actually was my hometown card store, Paradox, and I was doing a deck tech at my very first pro tour. You can actually see a cartoon gulp when asked a question by Brian. I was so nervous. Looking at this video to where I am now, I'm still all over the place in interviews, but back then I was nervous. I had no idea what I was doing there. I was playing a homebrew practically. I just got lucky because the metagame kind of fell for me and they wanted an interview. And Brian even came up to me and he's like, all right, well, you're X3. Let's get this, let's see if you can top 8. I'm like, I'm actually X4. I'm dead. I can't actually top 8 anymore. He's like, we'll do a deck tech anyway. Oh, you had to do this one, didn't you? Well, this was Nationals 2009. As you can see, the person to my left is pretty much just my enemy for the entire career, Todd Anderson. And in his flashback, he really didn't get the record straight of what actually happened. So I showed up to this tournament without a deck, and Conley Woods gave me his homebrew that actually went turn 2 Putrid Leech into turn 3 Muldrifter. So we were dead before the tournament even started. And strategizing against Todd in the playoff, Conley told me Todd is a loose cannon. He plays with emotions and you can tilt him, so do whatever you can to tilt him. And so we had this entire strategy around how I'm going to thought hemorrhage him, named Broodmate Dragon, and he should have no win conditions, and try to tilt him, and then after that he's going to bring in more win conditions, so I should start thought hemorrhaging Cruel Ultimatum. But so I cast Thought Hemorrhage in game 3, name Broodmate Dragon. Todd stops me before I grab his deck to go look through his deck to see how he sideboarded. And he's like, Judge, can I concede at any moment? The judge is like, yes, you concede at any time. He's like, I concede. And I just laugh and look at him and I'm just like, was that as good for you as it was for me? And now, yes, I'm the villain of the story, but if Todd's gonna play with so much emotion, I might as well try to tilt him in the match. And it did work, but he went for a Hail Mary in game 5 and it worked, and he made the team and I didn't, and so it's his story and not mine. I was just the bad guy from the beginning to the end, but it was a fun tournament. This was like the first time where I really felt like I played great because my deck was so bad. You can go back and look at it. It was a wreck. Oh man, I'm already stressing out about this. So this is Worlds 2010, where I was in the lead by a lot going into that Pro Tour for Player of the Year. I was in the lead for that, and everything went bad for me that weekend. I was actually in the Magic Online Championships where I ended up losing my win-in for the top 2. Worlds didn't go that well for me, and not only did Paulo make top 8, who could just straight up beat me for Player of the Year, Guillaume Matignon found his way into top 8 as well, which if he wins, he actually straight up ties me. So I have to root for Matignon in the top 8 against Paulo, because if Paulo gets to the semifinals, he wins Player of the Year. So I actually was sitting with the Roel brothers in the coverage area, and I'm sitting there with the French flag, and I'm rooting with the Roel brothers. And the moment Guillaume beats Paulo in a very tight game 5, I just throw the flag on the ground in front of the Roel brothers, just stomp on it, and just walk away. And they were just dying laughing, because now I have to root against him. But this finals was super stressful for me, and Guillaume ended up tying me, and I felt crushed. Deep down, I didn't even know if I deserved Player of the Year that year. I felt like I went on an insane tear, but I remember calling my dad from the convention center in Japan and just being crushed. And my dad just told me, it doesn't matter, you can practice for this, you can win this, but you are part of Magic's history. And he even knew that before it happened. And to this day, it's still the only tie that's ever happened. It's still the only play-up that's ever happened. And the road was a little bit more rocky than I wanted to be, but I wouldn't change it. Now that I won Player of the Year. Can I get...
Ritzel looking at a fantastic ball position. He's got another honor of the pure in hand. He plays it. There's the hand! Paul Ritzel of the United States.
3 games.
In 3 straight games is the Pro Tour champion.
The worst part about this is I don't think this was a good matchup. So I thought, I could lose this matchup, but I lost it in embarrassing fashion, mulliganing and getting crushed. We finished the match, and they take us both behind the curtains for the finals announcements, where they make both players now just walk back on stage with getting their trophies, which I always thought was a little awkward to begin with. And we're just standing over there alone with both of us, and you can see the loss on my face. It affected me. I really wanted this win, and Paul's just like, come on, man, let me get my one. You're gonna top 8 like 10 of these, because back then they all thought I was Kai Bude, like I was the next coming on the Pro Tour. And he top 8'd multiple more Pro Tours after this and got in the Hall of Fame, and it took me 7 years to get back to this stage, which I always thought was really funny. But this was maybe the most brutal match, and I've probably watched it 20 or 30 times because I'm a masochist. It's a tough one to stomach, but I always just looked to see if I could find mistakes, but I don't think there was any. I mean, there was little mistakes, but nothing that would have got me to a 4th game even. Oh man, this is finally we're getting to the good memories.
Matignon draws.
And draws again.
Ready, prison. Yeah, Brad says you can draw. Matignon looks. It's a land, and there it is. Brad Nelson of the United States is your Player of the Year for 2010, defeating Guillaume Matignon by 4 games to 2.
This was maybe the most nervous I've ever been for a match, and I don't really know why, but I was. And this is the first time I've ever done this out of nerves. I found myself like throwing up before the event even started. And maybe it was because I had my family there. If you look behind me, that's my stepmom, Diana. My dad is the one in the white shirt where the head is blurred out. But it was so fun after the match. I ended up winning this match pretty convincingly because I brought Cobblade to the table where Guillaume Matignon brought a Patrick Chapin Tezzeret brew. It wasn't that good of a deck, but having the family there was awesome. He had his family there as well. And my favorite story about this is my dad is one of the most excitable people I know. He's been a puppy his entire life, just running around, excited about people, excited about moments. And the entire time he was sitting in that chair, he was just like, was that good? Was that good? What happened? But this is probably my favorite moment in Magic because I got to take my dad to Paris, and they just had these giant projectors just all over. And they were just showing pictures of Guillaume and I all weekend long. And it was the first moment where I felt like I really made it as a Magic player, and I got to show that to my family and how much people were caring about this event. It was broadcasted online. People in the US were having like parties for Player of the Year. Like they were like getting up at 4 o'clock in the morning, just having Magic parties to watch this. Because this was also the first time that the Player of the Year title came back to America in the last 10 years.
Play the game, see the world, meet the people, get the trophy. The man who has it all is your 2010 Player of the Year. From Brian David Marshall, I'm Rich Hagan saying, Brad Nelson, your Player of the Year for 2010.
Wait, why? I will not accept this picture if it does not involve my brother and best friend Brian Braun-Duin, because that's the true winner's picture of Grand Prix Denver. There we go. This is, without a doubt, my favorite moment at Magic, and I don't even think anything's going to come close to beating it, honestly, because we roll up to Denver. Brian had been working on Teamer Energy, a deck that was here or there, but not really highly played yet. This was the breakout tournament for Teamer. Other people caught on too, but we played a Teamer Energy deck. Corey, Brian, and I all top 8 of this event. We didn't lose to anyone but ourselves in the top 8. I got to play Corey in the semifinals and Brian in the finals. Corey and I also got to top 8 back-to-back Grand Prix together. I mean, it's already like unbelievable to top 8 2 Grand Prix back-to-back. I've done it a few times and it feels so good, but to do it with my brother twice in a row, I mean, it's unheard of. It's never happened in Magic, and I don't think it's going to happen again. It was my favorite Magic moment by far, and I don't know if anything's ever going to top it. So this was Pro Tour Nashville, and that lovely lady is my Grandma Nelson. She's my favorite person on the planet. If I ever have a daughter, I've already talked to my fiance. We're naming her after my grandma, Delilah. She has taught me so many life lessons, and I always wanted her to come to a pro tour, but her health has become an issue. We knew that there wasn't many more opportunities to get her out to a pro tour, and she always told me if there was a pro tour in Vegas or Nashville that she would go. And so when I saw the schedule say Pro Tour Nashville, I was just so excited because she wants to see the Grand Ole Opry. So during the tournament itself, Corey and I would play in it, but my dad and my fiance Amber took Grandma to the Grand Ole Opry and to other historical sites in Nashville, and we just had one of the most precious times at a pro tour. Even the Sunday during top 8, once Martin Mueller lost in the top 4, we left and we went on a bus tour with Grandma, and this is one of my favorite memories as a family, just to bring her there, to show her. And the staff was so awesome. I mean, they were unbelievably nice and wonderful. Like whenever I come to a pro tour, a lot of the staff are like, oh, when's your grandma coming back? And I don't know if she ever will, but this will go down as one of my favorite pro tours just because I got to do it with family. This isn't my accomplishment. I don't want to talk about this. No, this was awesome.
Marcio's fate right here.
This is it.
It's contained within this clue.
He's going to sacrifice the clue. What does he find? He finds a forest, and that's it. Brian Braun-Duin is your world champion. He has defeated Marcio Carvalho 3-1, and he is your world champion. Take a look at Brian Braun-Duin.
Brian qualified for Worlds through a Grand Prix Master slot where he got the most points throughout the season through Grand Prix, and he worked really hard to do that. I qualified through an at-large slot for Pro Points, but at the time I was working with Team Eureka and he was working with Team Face to Face. But once we both qualified, he just told Face to Face he wanted to work with me, and I thought that was because we're friends, but it's actually because he thinks that I am one of the best in the game for small metagame tournaments, and he's right. Over the years, Brian and I have gotten really honest with each other, like brutally honest about our games, because all we care about is being as good as we can possibly be, and being delusional isn't going to help us. And so whenever I think that he's making mistakes or doing things wrong, I tell him, and he doesn't defend it. He just wants to be as good as he possibly can, and he he knows that there's parts of his game that need to get better. But the reason I say that is because he played better than everyone else in the room that weekend. The finals of that tournament, he beat Marcio, and we had perfect information in the stands, and he was making the same plays we would with perfect information. He was playing flawless Magic. The game 3 against Marcio, he shouldn't have won, but he did. This picture is right after he won. They didn't let us rush onto the stage. They stopped us. They literally were like holding us back. And I was like, fine, if you're not gonna let us come to Brian, we're gonna make Brian come to us. So like, we're at the bottom of the stage yelling for him to jump down, and they did not let us have this moment, but we forced it on them. And now they just, this picture, they used a lot, and a lot of these pictures, but it was just such an awesome moment to see Brian win Worlds. And this was the second year where my test teammate won it. And of course that I would like to win it as well. But honestly, when you become really close friends with people, their accomplishments are yours. And, seeing Brian win this tournament was just phenomenal, not only for his career, but for just the memory itself, and getting to see him dominate the tournament and see him become the Magic player he is today. I mean, he puts in more work than anyone I know, and I put in a lot of work. And I mean, his entire career he has. I actually think I've watched more of the replays of him winning this tournament than he has, because I believe I've watched the finals of this tournament 5 times now, just because it's a Brian that I haven't seen before, and I've only seen a few other times since then. And he has it in him to be one of the best players in the world. Aw, this isn't Magic related. Well, that is the fiance Amber that I talk about, and she is my life. The best thing I can say about her when it comes to Magic is she just, heard about Magic before we dated and didn't really know much about it. But she, downloaded Duels and learned how to play Magic through Duels while I was traveling one time. And now we play Two at a Giant every pre-release, and we have a lot of fun with it. Whenever I bring home sealed product, we do seals at home, and it's sad to say it, but I play prison rules, straight up. Those are the rules of Magic, and she has a winning record against me in sealed. It's scary, but she knows that the work I put in, I get out what I put into Magic, and she really roots for me, and I couldn't ask for anything more from her. We've been dating for 4 years at this point. I probably should have popped the question earlier, but I'm not perfect, but she is. Oh, well, I guess that was the last picture. Thanks again for watching. I'm Brad Nelson, and this was me strolling down memory lane on Flashback.